Hey Lacey, how you doing? Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. I'm working on my user personas and scenarios still, but I want to get this up here so I can get your feedback. Um, best Behance 99 platform focus on free education artists. Okay, all right, so excellent. Let's go ahead and jump right over to the presentation now. I've got that open right here. And let me just reduce that a little bit so we can fit everything in the window. Okay, all right, so let's jump right to the presentation. So you've got the problem, define the problem. One of the things I would recommend here is that typographically, you don't have to indent this first because there's nothing indicate there. This is the first paragraph here, so there's no reason to indicate that's a new paragraph. I think that's obvious. It's typically in a first paragraph in any composition, you don't indent. So I would recommend you don't indent there. Another typographic comment here is that it looks like you've got two spaces after your periods, and you always only want one space after periods. So you've defined the problem. That's excellent. Main features. I would describe these a little bit. Okay, social networking, describe what you mean there. Printing gallery, describe what you mean. Education, what does that mean? So that the viewer, you make the assumption in any presentation, not just this presentation, but any presentation as a designer, make the assumption that the viewer has no pre-knowledge whatsoever of what you're talking about here. Okay, and that way you always ensure that your presentations are complete to the point where somebody can look at it and gather all of the information they need. All right, and that's a tip in presentations, not only that I advise for this class, but I also recommend it in all of your presentation projects, is just, again, assume the viewer has no clue what they're looking at or what you're talking about. So everything needs to be defined and explained in the presentation. And I think that you could, the problem here I think is pretty good. Main features, let's go ahead and describe those. Describe what you mean by social networking. How does that tie into your app? How does that tie into the problem? How does that help solve some of the inherent problems listed in the problem area? And the same thing for the printing gallery and the education. Required applications, I'm not sure what this means at all. To me, this is an incomplete thought. Required applications, Adobe Illustrator and InVision. So describe what you mean here. Is this saying that you're using Adobe Illustrator to compile the presentation, the process book, and InVision to compile your prototype? Do you see what I'm saying? We really need to define everything here. Okay, competitors. Again, try to describe this a little bit more. I think the assumption here is that you are assuming that based on what you have submitted last week, that we are your audience, okay? Don't assume that we, your peers, are the audience, because we have pre-existing knowledge of what you are presenting here, okay? The assumption is that your viewer has no pre-existing knowledge. Therefore, you would have to describe, okay, competitors, Behance. What is it? The pros, industry standard. What does that mean? Portfolio, just a little sentence here describing all of these I think would really help. For example, education, 99U, pros, education. What does that mean? That's, to me, I think, and please understand, Lacey, I am not trying to sound discouraging at all. Okay, you'll know in the next couple of weeks here, I'm extremely forthcoming and honest in my critique. So, but I just want you to realize I don't want to be discouraging. I just want to express what I'm seeing. So again, a 99U, opportunities for hire. What does that mean? You see what I'm saying? So let's really expound on your problem, main features, required applications, competitors. All right, we have target audience here. Again, you've got digital artists. Try to give a paragraph describing exactly. So you've got these conditions for the target audience, 18 to 35, gender indiscriminate, high school diploma. Why? Why does this target audience need a high school diploma? Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, you're saying this is for emerging artists. Is there some sort of preclusion that says emerging artists should have a high school diploma? I mean, do you see what I'm saying? So the target audience would be artists, not necessarily artists with a high school education. Okay, typically a student or emerging artist. So let's just define that. Let's really drill down on that target audience and talk about some of the characteristics associated with that target audience, okay? And of course, the more successful you are and the more detailed you are in determining and defining your target audience, the more successful and accurate you can use the information from the target audience to establish your user profiles, your personas, and your scenarios. Okay, so can you see how those go hand in hand? And a target audience that isn't defined to its capability will have elements that are lacking if you're using that information to create your user profiles, your personas, and your um, scenarios, right? That makes sense, right? Okay, so we have user personas, and that's about all we have. So I would say, honestly, Lacey, at this point, I think we're underdeveloped. And let me describe what I mean there. Right now, this is what we have to have submitted by Sunday. We have first step one is ideation of the problem. Target audience, three main functions, competitors. We need to establish personas and at least one scenario. I recommend three personas, very, very, very different user profiles for the same target audience. So you wouldn't want to do it two similar personas. You want personas to be completely, completely different. Okay. Again, I would say at least three personas and at least one, if not two scenarios. Then we need all of our wireframes and sketches, which I didn't see any of those. Yeah, no wires, no wireframes, no sketches. We also need, so wireframe sketches of all of your screens. We need a storyboard of the scenario. So in other words, when you create your target audience, you use that information to create your user profile. You use that information to create your personas. And then the scenario, you're going to storyboard out the scenario, which is based on your personas, one of your personas. So if you have a scenario, it's based on one of the personas, which is based on the user profile, which is based on the target audience, right? So we need our storyboards, and then we need paper prototypes to be photographed and posted for critique here by Sunday too. So the paper prototypes are actually, if you've been reading the book, because the book does a really, I think one of the strengths of the book is really defining to a very high degree how to paper prototype and the reasoning behind and how paper prototypes are related to preliminary user testing. Okay, so that's really important. So those are what we're looking for right here. This is all fair game for Sunday. So let's get all of that done. Now, if you want to submit, so again, so all of these five items here need to be included in Sunday's presentation. Okay, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. And if you're unclear about anything I've said in this video, I'd be glad to provide detailed clarification. If you're unclear as to what's due, when it's due, anything at all, questions, you know I'm right here and I'm really super quick to respond. So you won't be waiting for me for answers. So the point I'm trying to make here is if you have any questions at all, please lay them on me. I'll get back to you ASAP with your answers. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much.